Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know I got a few ladies that watch my show. Thank you for your support. I see you in the comments. But it's been a minute since I've talked to the camera by myself. For those of you who have watched me for any load of time, know that I used to do vlogs on repairing cars, but that's not what today is about. Today is marking the first ever coffee hour. And what I really want the coffee hour to be, and what's going to separate the coffee hour from my typical podcast where I sit down and discuss true crime or to have intelligent conversations with leaders in specific industries, what the coffee hour is geared towards is what I want it to be, my show. And it can be books that I've finished, like today's episode will be, discussing a novel. Or it could be if I want to talk about something that's going on in the community around me and express my point of view without interruption, then we could do that as well. I'm thinking about making these live so that I could answer live questions, super chats from the fans, but that's not what today is. Today's not live. But today, what we're going to be doing is discussing a novel that I've read and just finished recently. I've been waiting to do this episode until I felt prepared, but today we're going to be discussing Bram Stoker's Dracula. Also, we can discuss a later edition, Dracula's Guest. Definitely not as hefty. It's only about 30, 40 pages, I believe, of the actual story, The Dracula's Guest, before it gets into the judge's house. Is that what that is? The judge's house? Yes, the judge's house. I have not read The Judge's House. I've only read Dracula's Guest in preparation for this episode, but I will or can do an episode on The Judge's House in the following short stories that supersede Dracula's Guest. I read Dracula's Guest maybe about a month ago, 2 months ago, and I read it again, so twice, and the story was interesting to me. Actually, what am I doing? It's a coffee hour. Yes, we can talk about Dracula's Guest and Dracula itself, Bram Stoker and his reasons as to writing the story, but first I just want to talk about what coffee I'm drinking today. On my right, I have a mocha. On my left, I have hazelnut. And in front of me, we have a fresh roasted 6-bean blend, the darkest roast that I offer on my coffee site. So, if you'd like to be part of the community, part of the coffee hour community, order yourself a bag. I've had loads of orders. People seem to really enjoy it. People seem to really enjoy the hazelnut sections. And people seem to really enjoy the flavored ones as well. I'm thinking about adding in some countries, like a coffee called Peru, to embrace the coffee community in Peru and what that typical flavor is in Mexico and South Africa. Just different types of blends, if you will. Not sure about it? Let me know in the comments. But we're also in a different area that you probably have noticed. We're in my dining room, as my girlfriend calls it, but me being a little bit more attempting to be luxurious. I like to call it the dining hall, but it's not really a hall. It's more a room. I'll be honest with myself there. The painting that you'll see behind me, a really good friend of mine, oil painting. And I figured that this one, I actually have a different one that's behind me usually, but this one I felt was more in tune with Dracula's Guest, as we have the lady and then the castle. I figured that one was more in tune. A friend of mine, David Krolowski, I know him online. I've never met him in person. He's from Chicago. He does his site online, and he makes outstanding pieces of artwork. Outstanding. Support him, support his business, support his talent. He makes beautiful scenic paintings and portraits. If you request a self-portrait, he can do that as well. He did not sponsor this episode. I just really enjoy his work and wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to David because he's been outstanding as far as customer support. Outstanding. Outstanding. Dracula. Dracula. Vladimir. Is it Vladimir? I forget. Dracula. An outstanding book to me. I really enjoyed this novel by Bram Stoker. This is not an original. This is an Amazon purchase. And you'll see I have 3 books. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I have 3 books here. I purchased Dracula first, and then I wanted to read Dracula's Guest. So secondly, I purchased what I thought was going to be a similar felt feel, but this is more just hardcover plastic, and I didn't like it because I have a book collection, because I'm a dork, and I like to have them displayed once I read them as a trophy. I read this, I put the time in, I learned. Look at it. But I didn't like that, and I looked up the original artwork, and this seems to be the original artwork. I could not find a hardcover on Amazon. I could not find a hardcover that looked reliable on eBay. I'm very skeptical on eBay, but I enjoyed it. And I only read Dracula's Guest once, so if I make an error, please correct me respectfully in the comments, as I'm sure all of you do. But Dracula, as soon as I started listening to the story and the way the book is laid out, it really grabbed me, and it really wrapped me in. Let me just get to my notes here. I have prepared notes. I have prepared material. I just want to make sure that I am correct in what I'm speaking. Okay. In the first chapter, we meet Jonathan Harker, and he's on his journey to meet Dracula. He's a lawyer, and Jonathan Harker is working on a property settlement with this mysterious person, Dracula. If you want to call him a person, you could call him a person, as he takes a person's shape. But his humanity is to be questioned, I believe. It's my opinion. He doesn't seem to be empathetic, and he cares about himself. Anyways, I'm getting kind of ahead of myself, but going through the town, going through the villages, and the environment around Jonathan Harker in his journey to get to Castle Dracula, he stumbles upon many locals who warn him of Dracula and his person, in the property that he represents, that he lives at. People gift him items. I think they gifted him garlic. Maybe they attempted to gift him garlic. I forget. But they gift him like a cross that Jonathan Harker uses in an act of defense against Count, which Count never refers to himself as Count. He always just myself, doesn't refer to him as Count. He refers to himself as Dracula. I am Dracula. We are still rolling. Okay, I heard a little click. Wasn't sure what that was. As we get into the second chapter, we're still moving towards Castle Dracula, and as we approach the castle, or as we get closer to the castle, Jonathan meets with basically a taxi in modern language. Now, again, I have not made this clear, but I'm going to right now. I am not a scholar. I am not an English professor. I am not an A student by any stretch of the imagination. I was a C, D, F student in high school, and an A-B student if the teacher was hot. And that was about it. That was the best you got from me. If the teacher was good looking, all bets were off. But I am not a scholar by any stretch of the imagination. So if my language and the way I describe things is not 100% accurate, cut me some slack, because I'm coming at you from the layman's point of view here. Jonathan gets in the carriage, the taxi type of thing, and he goes towards the castle, and he's getting this escort by a mysterious man. He doesn't really see his face. It's kind of hidden within shadows, if I remember correctly. And along the way, Jonathan Harker, through the long journey, the woods and the back roads that he has to take to get to this castle, they make a few stops. And this really confused me at first. This was a point that I wanted to talk about. It was something that I wanted to discuss, was the blue flames. My first reading, I must have missed the point where he said it was buried treasure. I missed that. So I had the whole questions, I didn't understand what it was, but it ties in nicely with it. The date lined up to be a specific date where all the evils in the world would come out, and this blue treasure would allow them to dig it up if someone was felt so inclined to do so. And that's exactly what the coachman does. He pulls over, stops the carriage, and he digs up these blue treasures, which seems to be some form of riches, coins, money, basically any form of currency, whatever that country decides to call it. Simultaneously to this happening, Jonathan Harker is struck by the appearance of wolves. Not specifically the appearance, but the sound of wolves. And they're getting closer. They're gaining on them. He could hear them the entire night. And he's getting closer, and he can hear these things. And right when they're stopped, the wolves come out of nowhere and attempt to get Jonathan Harker. Harker or Hopper? It's Harker, right? Harker, yeah. Jonathan Harker. And the coachman, the operator of the carriage, the operator of the carriage, with a wave of his hand, can control these animals, and the animals bow down in subordinance to the individual who we do not know but can speculate is Dracula. We arrive at the castle, and Jonathan Harker is greeted by Dracula himself. Shortly after his arrival, I believe that he got there, the coachman, with no sight of struggle, unloaded what is described as relatively heavy bags and took these bags off and delivered them to, I believe, Harker's room or to the castle steps. That part is where I start to forget a little bit. I'm in the middle of another book right now too, so it's just a couple of the details are a little bit foggy. Actually in the middle of two books, but anyways. Shortly after his arrival, he meets Dracula. Dracula is described as a pale man with, I can't remember if he described him as red-eyed. I know he described the carriage operator, the coachman, as red-eyed because he could see it in the dark. But I don't remember specifically if he describes Dracula upon the first encounter as red-eyed. Please correct me in the comments with the correct answer for all you Dracula enthusiasts. Shortly into that specific chapter, or after we meet Dracula, we, as in Jonathan Harker and the reader, essentially are invited for dinner or a form of late lunch, evening snack. I'm not really sure the time. I believe it was dark, so probably dinner or early morning. We're invited for a supper, essentially, and Dracula refuses to eat. He says that he has dined earlier in the day, so he is set. He's fine. Doesn't need any more particular food. Mouth's getting a little dry. One moment. It's the first I'm trying the mocha. Very good. I do like it. I can taste the chocolate. For all my coffee enthusiasts, let me know what your unflavored, I drink it black. Let me know what your unflavored coffee preference is. Because I'm such a G, I have 2 cups here. Anyways. Yeah, it's kind of like a wood chocolate taste. Yeah, I like it. Kind of like dark chocolate. Anyways. We're escorted to the room. Jonathan and the reader are escorted to the room. And that's where Jonathan starts to record some of his diaries or his journal entries. And I'm going to pause the story at the journal entries because I want to discuss the journal entries. At first, it was extremely confusing to me because I am not a reader. And I decided, I had some form of epiphany that I wanted to start reading books. And I was advised that this would be a good way to start my entry into reading. And it was. I liked this book. This is a good book. It had me on my toes. I'm not going to lie. And I like the pacing of it too. It's not too fast. It's not fast at all, actually. But it's good. The journal entries were a bit confusing because we sort of jump around in time. It's not spoken from someone who's overlooking it like it's on TV. It's spoken from the people and the characters in the story, which I respect. I do like that. It took a minute, but I did like it. After a couple of days in the castle, we are starting to get skeptical of the reasoning or why we're even here, He's starting to question it. He soon learns, after the disappearance of certain objects, that he is now a prisoner to the castle, a prisoner to Dracula. In this weird sense of like mind control, kind of. Like Dracula knows that when he goes to rest for the daytime hours, when the sun comes up, he goes to rest. He knows that he is controlling Jonathan Harker while he's incapacitated, essentially. And that's very interesting to me. It's an interesting concept because Jonathan attempts escape a couple of times, but the doors are locked. Can't seem to find a way out. And later on in the chapters, it's revealed that there's really only one way out. Which to me was kind of weird because, like, I don't know much about architectural design of that era castles. But I feel like there could have been a way to scale the wall or something. I'm not too sure. Again, layperson, CD student in school discussing a very complex book. And I'm bouncing all around here. I know I am. Please be patient. But I felt compelled to talk about this. And this is kind of like bonus material, This is bonus material. So if you complain, listen, man. This is bonus. It's free TV. This is free to you guys. I'm not charging for this. This is free TV. All right. So once we get about a few days into this stay at Castle Dracula or Dracula, we realize that we're prisoner, and we start questioning the things around us. We start questioning the people who are delivering goods or delivering mail. I forget what Stoker refers to them as. I don't remember. I'm not going to attempt to find it. I forget the word that he uses to describe the people that deliver goods to the castle walls, basically. And run away in a hurry because the whole town's freaked out because their children keep going missing, which we'll get to. Jonathan Harker attempts to navigate the castle and start to learn about it a little bit. And he's advised by Dracula to not enter or fall asleep, especially in any rooms that are locked. That are barricaded, any room that it's clear you're not supposed to be in. 1, don't go in. And 2, don't fall asleep in there. You'll have bad dreams. The castle has history. It's going to freak you out, is basically what he says. Mocha's good. I like it. I haven't tried hazelnut either. This is hazelnut. I've had the hazelnut caramel, and that was friggin' delicious. Hazelnut's a bit sweeter. Mocha's a bit darker. I like them both. We'll drink them all today. Harker finds his way into this room because he's attempting to get through the castle to try to find a window, to try to find a crack in the foundation. Anything that he can do to get away from this dude, he's trying. There's a door that he budges a little bit and it moves, and he hits it again and it moves, and he finally gets into the room. And in an act of strange defiance, he falls asleep on a sofa type thing, piece of furniture. And when he awakes, he's kind of in this, I not Stoker's words, but I'm going to call it a daze. He's kind of in this weird fog type of thing where he's got these three beautiful women around him. And they are taking control of him. And he's in such a trance. He's lost in the beauty of these women that he becomes, you know what? I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it now. He becomes submissive to these three women. And I'm going to say submissive because one of the points in this story is Jonathan Harker's fight for masculinity against Dracula, who seems to be taking it from him this entire first 5 chapters. 4 chapters? 4 or 5 chapters. And that's a role, masculinity versus femininity, throughout the whole book is a constant discussion. So I'm going to say he becomes submissive and sort of like a subordinate to these three women. They are controlling him. They are greater than him. They're in charge. And one of them sort of makes a move on him in some form of a sexual way. Not really, but that's the way Jonathan Harker's brain's going. And he's thinking about Mina while he's doing this too. And when, right before the fangs hit the skin, Dracula, no, leave him be, or whatever he says. He like, get away from my man type of thing. Like, he's mine. And Jonathan's saved. And Dracula suffices the woman's need for feeding with a bag that we don't know what's in it, but Jonathan thinks he hears some type of cry, whimpering, basically a small child in the bag. A few days later, we find out, or we get a clue that it is a child that was slayed that night, because there's a woman who comes to the castle wall while Harker is in his room, and she's screaming, but Harker can't seem to, he either doesn't attempt it, or he's trying to communicate, but it's too far, something along those lines. I'm not entirely sure. But while she's screaming, "Give me back my child, you monster, give me back my child," Dracula calls upon the wolves that basically escorted the carriage to scare Jonathan. Calls upon the wolves to come and slay this chick. And she gets slayed. They drag her away. And that is basically another form of reassuring Jonathan is staying in this castle. Dare not challenge Dracula. Eight out of 10. Not bad. Eventually, through the journals, we hear about Jonathan has found like an escape room, a plan, not a room, but a plan. He's got a plan. He's going to try to scale the wall, and he's going to jump this cliff, but he wimps out a little bit. He eventually has to go through. I kind of get a little lost in the layout of this whole plan. I get the gist of it, but I get a little lost. Like, because man, I was in reading classes when I was a student. Talking with girlfriend earlier today about that. I was in assisted reading classes because I couldn't do it. Well, as soon as I get out of school, I want to read, whatever. So Jonathan eventually musters up the courage to strike at Dracula. And he takes, I believe, a broomstick or he takes a shovel, and he lashes the shovel at Dracula's either head or neck. One of his upper extremities, somewhere in this area, he hits him. And he runs out with the key, I guess it's a key. He gets out, and he gets picked up by some locals, I believe, and is brought to a hospital or something along those lines. There's a lot that goes into these chapters. I'm kind of going through it. There's a lot. There's attempted letters that he writes that Dracula intercepts. There's the burning of, or the theft of Jonathan's clothes that Dracula's wearing out in public to show that Jonathan actually left, and the strange dating of letters. There's all these specific things that go on in these early on chapters that I'm leaving out because it would take me, this would be a 5-hour podcast or a 5-hour talk show right here. But he gets out, and he basically just cuts off from the journals. The collection of journals that, the hell's his name? Van Helsing. How could I forget that? That Van Helsing assembles together. So I'm going to kind of stop the play-by-play of the story because I felt like those 4 or 5 first chapters were the most interesting part of the story, besides either chapter 6, 7 with the Demeter. That's a really good chapter. I can kind of go into that a little bit because that's an excellent chapter. And they made like a B-star movie on it. But I have a lot of respect for the directors that made that movie. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the movie is the final or the last voyage of the Demeter. It's the last voyage, the final voyage of the Demeter. Quick little Google search here. Movie. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Yes. I have a lot of respect for the director and the producers of that movie. Because, yes, it was a B movie, and the graphics weren't great. But they took an extremely complex book, and they made one chapter of an extremely complex book a movie. Amen to them. I will watch every single movie that director puts out if it's around this Dracula book. It didn't do too hot, but it was an excellent way to produce a movie. They did it respectfully. They left no details out. They did a great job. Watch the movie if you want to, because it's a great movie. I would love to see a movie on the first 5 chapters. Jonathan's escape from the castle would be amazing. I'd love to see that. But kudos to you. Kudos to whoever directed the movie. Who directed the movie? Who's the director? Let's find out. Edited by Patrick Larsgaard. Produced by Bradley J. Fisher and Mike Medavoy. Directed by Andre Overdale, or it's a Russian name. I'm having a hard time pronouncing it. Kudos to you, Andre. Kudos to you, Patrick, with the editing. Kudos to you, Bradley Fisher, Mike, and Arnold W. Messer for producing this film. Kudos to you. I appreciate what you did. I appreciate the approach you took to it. I will recommend your movie here on my platform. Watch it. Drink a coffee. Right there. Here's the bag. Coffeebyseth.com. Watch that, and then shoot a comment down below with what coffee you drank and what you thought the movie was. Let's talk about masculine, feminine roles in this movie. Ooh, controversial. Let's talk about it. Jonathan Harker embodies the decline in masculinity. Now, this book was written, 1897? Is that when this book was written? Something like that? Does it have a date on it? 1897, am I right? Comments, am I right? 1897, yep, okay. 1897, that book was written. And they're already talking about the fall of masculinity. I am not going to get into this topic. I am not going to become Andrew Tate. But the fall of masculinity embodies Jonathan Harker. And the rise of masculinity is Van Helsing. Van Helsing, I, a listener, and I, a reader, felt like he was a father figure. Or even for me, because I'm only 25. And for me, kind of felt like a grandfather figure. Like, okay, this guy doesn't need to explain himself when he's asking to chop Lucy's head off. He's not going to explain himself. Why? Because he's Van Helsing, and he doesn't need to you dorks. That's why. Cool dude. And he's smart, too. And he thinks ahead. And I like that. And he is the leader that this group of people need. And with the masculinity also comes the other side, femininity. Lucy embodies femininity as a whole. She does. It's what her character's for. It's why she was seen in a white dress. Because Stoker wanted to portray purity. Lucy is pure. She is your daughter. She is your granddaughter. Whoever you have in your life, he wanted to connect Lucy to you. That's what he wanted to do. And Mina was the girl that every guy needs. She is the sidekick to Jonathan Harker and Van Helsing. She knows that Harker takes the train, and she knows that she's useful to him if she knows the train. She starts learning, I believe, shorthand so that she can keep up with Harker's educational journey. Or form of note-taking. I forget why she actually starts to describe her reason for writing in shorthand. I forget the reason. It was in the early chapters where we start to pick up her diaries. Yes, they are diaries. She says they're diaries. Harker, Helsing, write in journals. Yes. Okay. I have a few other things I want to talk about with this too. I have a few other things. Book reflections. What stood out to me? What stood out to me, yeah, I already talked about it, was the star of this book is Harker. The star of the book is Harker. The star of the... It's like the NHL. 3 stars. First star, or third star, actually. Third star is Harker. Second star, Jesus, I can't count. Third star is Harker. Second star is Van Helsing. I'm going to pull Van Helsing. I don't need to explain. That star of the game of this book was Dracula. The villain is the reason why I like the book. Because Dracula is calculated. He knows what he's doing. He's not just some edgy emo guy running around grabbing people. No, he's calculated. He waited 300 or whatever the hell amount of years to do this, to plot this. And guess what? He'll wait another 300 years to get back at society. His goal is to populate Earth with the vampire bloodline, if that's what you want to call it, or the disease, whatever you want to call whatever he's got. He'll wait. He'll wait. He doesn't care. He will wait, and he'll be patient, and he will outwait you. He'll outwait Helsing. He will outwait Harker. That's why at the end of the book, we're chasing Dracula. That's why we're chasing him. He is retreating. He's doing a tactical retreat. He looks at the game of chess and he goes, okay, back off. We need to chill out. We need to defend here because we are not going to win this battle. These guys have figured out what my weaknesses are. These guys have figured out that the dirt that I have imported via the Demeter, which is the whole reason why the Demeter story happened, the movie, is because of the dirt was spilled. They've figured out that I need to rest on non-holy land. It can't be tainted with holiness. So he retreats back to Transylvania. And they intercept him. They intercept him in his retreat. And I like it because if you can get past the love story, which I'm not shy to a good love story. If I can relate to the characters, that's the thing. I work in TV, man. I work in television. So if I can relate to you and I can relate to the characters, then I'm going to like the show. You know, it's when I can't relate to them. If they don't have any experiences that I can tap into through my own personal experiences, then I'm not going to care. I'm not going to care. Not saying I enjoy The Notebook. Not saying that. But like movies like Titanic, if you can get past the love story and enjoy it for what it is, it's a historical movie that was made by Hollywood to retell the story of the Titanic. If you can get past the whole love thing, then you're good. And guess what? Sorry, fellas, you need it. You need it. You do. You need it to tie the story together because you cannot have action-packed John Wick BS the entire movie. You can't. You can't. You have to break it up a little bit. It's what sets the tone. It's why Dracula was so good, was because it bounces all over the place. All over the place, just like what I'm doing right now. My ideas are everywhere. I'm just throwing it all together. This is free. Don't criticize me. Yeah, okay. Dracula's a star. Symbolism I already went over. Influencing modern horror? I'm reading my bullet points here. How did it influence modern horror? Well, I can tell you how Stoker got influenced because I looked that up. He was influenced by Joseph Sheridan's Carmilla in 1872. In 1872, he read that vampire book, and he was influenced by it. And Stoker helped create the layout for vampire lore. He was not the first that created it. That's a rumor. He helped lay it out. He helped create what vampire lore is. The whole crossing the water thing, can't cross running water, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure he also created the garlic thing. I think he kind of made the garlic thing up. I think. I don't know. That stuff isn't really in the book, and that was all research that I did like 3-4 weeks ago for this. Yeah, I've been planning this for that long. The word vampire comes from Slavic folklore. It's another fun fact that I wrote down. I'm getting like cotton mouth here. Yeah. What else? What else do we got? Yeah, we already covered social norms. What do you guys got? What do you guys want me to talk about? Maybe I'll make a part 2. So we're doing coffee hour right now, but I also want to do a cigar night, a cigar hour, out on my patio, out on the brand new furniture that I got out there. That took me 4 hours to set up after a TV shoot, which I did not want to do, but it looks awesome. Maybe I'll sit out there one day, maybe with Rich. I know a lot of you watch my show and know Rich. Rich is like a grandfather to me. He's a cool dude. He's got a lot of stories. Like we were talking the other day. Rich and I were talking the other day. I didn't realize that he's an avid gun collector. I didn't realize that. I am not a gun nut. I have firearms. I inherited firearms. I have them properly stored and yeah, I have them properly stored in a big ass gun safe, unloaded. But I'm not a gun nut and all this other stuff. But yeah. But I didn't realize that about Rich. Just another sprinkle on the top of the cake, if you will. Yeah, would I recommend the book? I would. I do. I recommend the book. I recommend Dracula's Guest. Yeah, we haven't talked about that. We haven't talked about Dracula's Guest. I do recommend it. And where I've only read it once, I don't want to talk about the plot because I don't remember correctly. I remember a piece of it. I remember pieces. I can talk about this book for hours. This book, I read it once. And I read it after the first reading of this. So I went, this, boom. And I'm also the type of dork that needs an audiobook as well while I read it. Because if I'm just sitting here just perusing the pages, I'm not going to retain the info. I need to read it and I need to hear it. Let me know. And you know what? I'll give you the guy of the audiobook because it was awesome. The guy who did it. And I watch his live streams, but I just want to pull his channel up here real quick. Let me just produce this real quick. 1 second. Dracula. All right, yeah. Stephen Red Fox Garnett. Thank you. Thank you for your professional, not overdone coverage of Dracula. You did an awesome job. I went on your live streams and I told you through the live streams, but I want to thank you in person too. You did a great job with that book. Kudos to you. You deserve all the credit. He does different. He's not just some typical traditional, voice actor who sits there and talks like this and reads the book and does it slowly. He doesn't do that. What he does is he creates, well, I'm Quincy Morris and I'm from Texas. And he creates characters that sound good. I'm not a voice actor. I used to have a radio show. I used to be on a radio show. And I was not a radio person. I didn't have the voice for it. People didn't like listening to me. My music is way too different. I listen to metal, but specific styles of metal. And some underground gangster rap too. I know it's weird, but yeah. So, but he did a great job. Check him out. Stephen Red Fox Garnett. He did a great job. I'll link his podcast down below. That's how cool I am. I'm linking people's other I'm telling you to go to a different YouTube channel. That's how cool I am. So thanks, Stephen, for your service, because I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have been able to get this project out without you. Get this book done without you. And Stephen, if you're listening to this, someone clip this. Someone in the audience clip this, please, and send this to him. Do the Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah, that's a crazy book. I know it is. I know it's intimidating. I know not many people challenge that book because there's so many characters. I'm on chapter 34 or 33. I don't know. They're chasing Sinbad and they just rented the carriage, or they tried to rent the carriage, and they're trying to go find Sinbad in, I don't know, it's been 2 days. I forget what area of the world they're in. But they've left the people who came in to the island of Monte Cristo have left to go try to find Sinbad. I think he went to Rome. I don't remember. Edmond Dantes. An outstanding. The first 20 chapters of that book, outstanding, much like Dracula. If you enjoyed reading this is how I'm going to describe it. If you enjoyed reading the first 5 chapters of Dracula because it's Dracula versus Jonathan, or is it 4? The first 4 or 5. Before it cuts to Mina's journal where she's discussing what she's doing to benefit her relationship with her husband, Harker, or her fiance Harker with Lucy. Before we cut to that, if you enjoyed reading the first couple of chapters, then you're going to enjoy the first 20 chapters of The Count of Monte Cristo, because it's the exact same way the author of The Count of Monte Cristo, whose name is escaping me, sets it up the exact same way, and he does a fantastic job the first 20 chapters. Or until, actually, I'll put it this way, until Edmond Dantes goes through the wall and into the ocean. I don't want to spoil it, but until he goes through the wall and into the ocean, once he gets in the ocean, it's outstanding. Because it kind of jumps through time a little bit, it gets a little confusing. Again, I'm not an English scholar. Again, I'm not an English professor. Again, I'm not an English nut or a literature nut. This reading thing has only come up to me and appealed to me through books that I find for the past 6 months, I'd say. That's it. It hasn't been this 10-year long journey that I'm on. No, it's literally been like 6 months. So you're getting the layman's point of view here with this, which I think is important, because a lot of English professors or literature nerds or dorks, sorry, I don't mean to describe you that way, it's just the language that comes to me. I'm not in my formal setting here. This is me just talking. This is me just talking to you guys. A lot of people, when they're discussing literature, use a lot of what I call technobabble. And the whole scientific community calls it technobabble. When they try to confuse you with fancy words, I like using good vocabulary. I appreciate it. But I feel sometimes when I'm watching book reviews, they hit you with the technobabble. And I'm always like, wait, what? I got to look that up. Google search, how does that work? That's not really a real word. Is this a real word? And I got to kind of do whatever. I guess I'll do, closing thoughts. But I've already kind of given my closing thoughts, because Dracula was an outstanding book. It really was. It was an outstanding book. I will read this book again. I will. I've read the book 3 times. But the audiobook is so good, and the story's friggin' excellent. Oh, we'll talk about the ending. That's what we'll do. I don't really want to talk about the hunt, the Curse of Lucy, because if you haven't read the book yet, or if you're in the middle of the book and you're trying to understand it, the Curse of Lucy is arguably, to me, the Battle of Lucy is better than the Battle of Dracula. The Battle of Dracula And this is a warning. If you haven't finished the book yet, exit out now. Good. Okay. All right. They're gone. The Battle of Dracula ends abruptly. And the reason it ends abruptly is, I think, because Stoker, the author, Stoker, wanted to not make the book about the slaying of Dracula, but he wanted to make it about the journey that these people went through together. You know what? I haven't even talked about oh my god, what's the crazy dude in the asylum's name? What the hell is his name? How is that escaping me right now? It'll come to me. It'll come to me. It's gonna kill me now. Now I gotta look it up. Now I have to look it up. Read the book 3 times. Characters. Renfield. Yes. Okay, Renfield. Renfield is an outstanding character. It really is. Because okay, hold on. I'm getting way ahead of myself here. The Battle of Lucy versus the Battle of Dracula. He didn't want to make the Battle of Dracula outperform the whole book. That's why we got the Battle of Lucy. The fight between good and evil, impurity and evil, and masculine and feminine. That's what the Battle of Lucy entailed. The Battle of Dracula was, we did it. We finally got this done with. But let's continue talking about the side effects of Dracula. Dracula haunts everybody. And he's not even around. He's causing problems, and he's not even there. He's like, I forget, was it Stewart or was it Quincy? I think it was Quincy. Shot a handgun at a bat through a window, and it almost killed Helsing and maybe Harker at some point. Dracula was spying on them, so he's not even there in person. He's there in the form of an animal, a bat. He's spying on them. And it's freaking these people out. And they don't even really say that it was Dracula. They say a bat was looming at the window, was lurking, was trying to get in. They don't know, because Dracula can't just enter a room that he's not invited to. He has to be invited in there. And that's why the whole mental asylum thing happened, because Renfield was like, yeah, sure, you can come in. You can come in if you grant me power, master. And then Dracula slayed him, brutally slayed him. Which I kind of felt bad for Renfield, but not really, because he's crazy. He's a crazy dude. Renfield represented, to me, what Renfield represented was the lack of communication between parties. This whole book, Harker, Stewart, Quincy, Helsing, Arthur, are not discussing things with Mina. They're not. They're just not talking to Mina. And Mina is dealing with Lucy, who was attacked by Dracula. So had they just, and I forget what the actual reason was, but I remember reading the book, and I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I remember like literally putting it down. I was like, if they had just talked to Lucy, this whole problem would have been fixed. Or they would have an idea of how to counter this threat. I forget what part it was. I forget, whatever. But Renfield, to me, represents the lack of communication amongst the main characters. Renfield's sort of a main character. He's there, but he's more a piece of symbolism of lack of communication. And he's also a piece of symbolism in the idea of what Renfield is doing indicates what Dracula's doing. The collection of flies, the collection of spiders, and how, like, when he goes into that means Dracula's planning. And when he starts doing other weird shit, it means Dracula's about to attack. And Renfield, yeah, I think I've made my point clear about that. But it's a good book. I would recommend it. It's been a part of my commuting to and from work. I live 25 minutes from the gym, so to the gym, to back from the gym, listening to the book, doing the dishes, making dinner, weird stuff. I'll listen to the book, or I'll sit down, I'll read the book. I've gone through this story in different ways. If I have time, I'm good to go at night, put the book on, and follow along with it. That's when I understand it better. But, I get bored of music. I really do. Like, I've been listening to music my entire life, and I don't really have anything to show from it. I don't. But I read this book. It's probably not this one. Well, yes, this one. But I've read this collection of books here about this one story. And I have something to show from it. I have a podcast that I can talk about. I'm not going to sit here and talk about me listening to ACD while I'm training legs. I'm not going to do that. But I have reading and learning gives me something to discuss. It gives me something to talk about. It enhances my knowledge. Yes, reading is a form of entertainment. I think it's the same as playing video games. I think it's the same as watching sports. It's the same pastime. But it depends on what you do with it. And what I'm doing with it is I'm making free content for you people to watch at home. I'm not really making money off of this. If someone wants to help me and support me, the coffee sales are a great way to do so. But really, I got sick of drinking Starbucks because Starbucks, in comparison to this, Starbucks is trash. And don't even get me started on Dunks. That is trash water. Get that out of here. Drinking Dunkin' Donuts is like drinking Bud Light and telling me that it's high quality. It's not. It's not. This stuff is local. It's good. Hazelnut. If you got a specific flavor that you want, comment it down and I'll get that flavor for you. I can get really any flavor. I threw some polls out on YouTube to see what people wanted, and I put down the stuff that people wanted. The countries thing didn't really take off, but the certain blends did. And most of the blends are medium roasts, but this is a dark roast. I drink dark roast because I'm also a practicing bodybuilder. I don't compete. I just love the sport. Always have. Training that way, it's a big thing for me. But I don't drink pre-workout. I drink dark roasts. That's how I get my caffeine. These are medium roasts. So dark roast, 6-bean blend. On the site, it's labeled the Seth Rzuski blend because that's typically what I drink every single day. These are more just because I want something a little bit sweet. It's the middle of the day, This I usually drink in the morning. I know, a bit backwards, but it is what it is. Where are we at? Oh yeah, we're over an hour. We're over an hour on Dracula. We're over an hour. And I still could go for 4 more hours about this movie. I could go into a deep dive on the characters. You know what? Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do a deep dive on the characters. I'm almost done with my first coffee here. Coffee 1. Bye, Mocha. You're done. I got about half a coffee left, so we'll find out. What do we want to discuss, chat? What do we want to discuss? Let's talk about it. What do we want to talk about? Should we go live on YouTube? I'm getting a phone call. Hello? Hey, I'm filming right now. Yeah, I'm in the middle of a filming session. Say hello.
Okay, sorry. Oh, hi.
Yeah, okay. All right, that'll be up on YouTube later on today. So you can check it out. It's probably going to be around an hour in. Okay, bye. Anyways, I'm going to do more coffee hours. I'm going to do cigar nights out on the patio, talking about whatever it is I want to talk. So what I'm thinking is, this is what I'm thinking. Cigar nights are going to be breakdowns of material that I want to talk about. Coffee hours are going to be breakdowns of material that I want to talk about. And cigar nights, I might do outside with a friend of mine that I find interesting, where we discuss more serious conversations. It'll be a nighttime type of thing where it's starting to get a little dark, but the lighting's still good for the cameras, where we sit down and we discuss whether it be the state of the world, whether it be stocks, something a bit more serious, but not in a controversial way, not in a way that's going to cause problems, but simply me learning. That's what this whole thing started about, was me learning. I wanted to sit down and learn from these people. For those of you who haven't seen my interview with Massachusetts State Senator John Keenan, check it out. I went into that interview open mind. I didn't agree or disagree with his politics. I sat down, I had questions about the state of the state that I live in, Massachusetts, and I asked questions so that I could learn about what's happening in my government. This channel is about learning in a respectful manner. That's why I wanted to do this episode here. One, because it looks cool. This area looks cool with my French Revolution mirror and this kick-ass artwork from David. I'm going to link his Instagram and his Etsy shop down below. Shout out to you, David. But that's what this channel is about. It's about grown men sitting down and learning from each other, and sitting down, enjoying good coffee, and sitting down and hearing what everybody has to say, because I'm not in it to be disrespectful. I'm in it to learn. And this is kind of my unofficial, outlet, where when I'm sitting down doing the podcast, I'm a bit more proper. I'm a bit more curious. But with this, I can just talk and I can just rifle on. The coffee hours, I think, are definitely going to be solo. So let me know if you like this. But the cigar nights, I might do solo. But I would like to have someone there. And I have a few ideas for guests. Now that summer's in session, I work at a high school. So a lot of staff members that I find interesting, like Rich, who's on my show a lot, works at the high school that I work at. So their schedule's opened up and it's a bit more available. So I think I have a couple guests that I'd like to have on for the cigar night, where we can just sit down and discuss what's going on in the world that we live in. It doesn't need to be controversial too. It can just be the state of, like, an episode that I want to do. This kind of fits in with Dracula as well. Is obviously I like old school stuff. I do. Obviously I do. I like Victorian era. It's a big. I feel like if I am a form of resurrection, or not resurrection, but reincarnation. Sorry, choice of words here. If I am a form of reincarnation from a past life, I feel like I was prior living in the Victorian era. It's just been a big thing for me. As you can check out my freaky mirror. My friends are all scared of it. I love it. It's gorgeous. Yes, I light those candles. Yes, I light these candles when we're eating. The girlfriend thinks it's a riot. But I sit down, I put on like really nice relaxing jazz. We sit down and we talk. No phones. No crazy trap metal music, hip hop music. No, nice. Enjoy some nice jazz. Sit down and discuss. But I feel like I was born in the Victorian era. And because of that, I take it personally when big, beautiful pieces of architecture are either torn down or repurposed for businesses. I feel like it's not really true to the American dream. I feel like it blocks the American dream. There's a beautiful mansion right down the street, the Cardinal Spellman Mansion. You should check it out. It's beautiful. I want to buy it. It's a goal of mine. It's a life goal of mine. I am nowhere near the financial capability to do such a thing. Plus, it's already an active business, so I don't think they'd sell it to me. But it's a pretty good goal of mine that I want to buy the Cardinal Spellman Mansion. It is beautiful, and it's to me the American dream that I'm chasing, and I think seeing people live in beautiful mansions in beautiful business in your town. Every town has them, especially in the New England area. I'm not sure how it is out in the West or in the Midwest, South, or that whole area, Texas, Northern Texas. I don't know what it's like in that region of the United States, but here, these buildings are everywhere. They're everywhere, and they're all businesses, and they all get, they don't get the love that they would if a true, a family bought it and it was a family building. There are a few in the town of Rockland, Massachusetts, that are just gorgeous. I love them. And it's actually, if you know what TV studio I work at, I want to do a special on them, those two mansions, because they are just beautiful, just absolutely stunning. But I think that's going to wrap it up. I've been talking for over an hour. I expected this to go on for a half hour. I did not expect. I was nervous about meeting a half hour's requirement of time. That's kind of where I like to be, is about a half hour. But yeah, so that just might be it. That's going to be it. This is going to go up today. Right now it's Friday at 5:05. I have no idea what time I'm going to publish this. I'm going to close these cameras down and get to work. But Sunday in 2 days, you are going to see an episode with me and Rich again. We're filming it tomorrow. The turnaround time is awesome in this channel. I've filmed the episodes on a Saturday or Sunday morning. Sometimes I work fast. And I film them on Saturday afternoon, sometimes evening if I have to. And I get them out on Sunday for you as soon as I can, because I hate waiting. If something comes in the mail, I open it immediately. But that's going to wrap it up for me. I don't really have much more on just the plot of Dracula. But if I'm thinking about doing a deep dive on each character, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a deep dive on each character. Maybe I'll do one tomorrow. I got to prepare some material because today was kind of just like a little bit of a rant. But I appreciate all of you who have stayed this entire time watching it. I appreciate all of my dedicated viewers, my audience. I really appreciate you. And I'm here to just spread knowledge, man. I'm here to just learn. But that's going to be it. Order your bag of coffee, coffeebyseth.com, coffeebyseth.com, all one word, .com. There we go. And that'll be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned on Sunday in the morning time. I think I'm going to release it at noon, 11 or noon, for a final episode on the Karen Reed case, where we discuss the outcome of the court case. We're going to discuss what we saw happen in the trials, and we're going to discuss, because this case just ended. It just ended like last week. So we're going to discuss what happened in the trials, and then we're going to discuss what we think happened, personally what we think happens. We're going to discuss the outcome of the trial, and we're going to form an opinion and a belief as to if we were to create what actually happened. We're gonna release that info tomorrow. We're filming at 10, but it'll be out for you guys Sunday morning. Alrighty, my friends. I will see you later. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best of luck. And I will see you on Sunday at noon.